Women Who Own It podcast spotlights women business owners who are pioneers in their field, setting trends, blazing trails, and creating game-changing innovations. Brought to you by WeBank, the largest certifier of women-owned businesses in the U.S. and a leading advocate for women business owners and entrepreneurs. And me, Allison Maslin. I've been a business owner for the last 35 years. I'm the Wall Street Journal best-selling author of the book, Scale or Fail. So join our bold community of women who built it, grew it, and own it. I'll see you on the show. Welcome to Women Who Own It, the WeBank podcast, where we highlight the wins, the challenges, the journeys, and the lessons of inspiring women business leaders. I am your host, Allison Maslin, founder of Pinnacle Global Network, where we mentor business owners around the world to scale their company. Today, I am super excited to highlight an incredible businesswoman and business leader. Nina Vaca is chairman and CEO of Pinnacle Group, named the fastest growing women-owned company in the country in 2015 and 2018. Pinnacle has also been included in the Inc. 500, 5,000 list of fastest growing companies 13 times. One of the few Latinas in the nation serving on the boards of publicly traded companies, Nina was appointed by the White House in 2014 as a presidential ambassador for global entrepreneurship. She's also been awarded the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award, the Goldman Sachs Most Intriguing Entrepreneur Award, and has been named by ALPFA and Fortune magazine in the top 5 of the 50 most powerful Latinas in America. Wow. So Nina, welcome to Women Who Own It.
Allison, thank you so much for having me today. It's really a privilege to be selected to be on your show, and I love the name. But if my experiences and my personal or entrepreneurial journey could be of service to anyone, that's really why I'm here today. So thank you, Allison.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. You've had quite the journey. It is so inspiring. So I want to talk about, just right off the bat, your journey a little bit. I was on your website, super impressed. And right up front, it says the first women-owned and minority-owned Beeline certified strategic partner. It's in our DNA. And I mean, I love that. So can you tell a little bit about your journey to creating this amazing enterprise, Pinnacle Group?
Well, thank you for that. By the way, what I consider to be one of our most valuable assets is our DNA. It's our people. It's our mindset, our approach, our culture. Our culture goes toe to toe with any of the fastest growing companies in the country. And I believe is the one sole reason, or one of the big reasons we are where we are today. I am surrounded by people that have an entrepreneurial DNA. And if we look at entrepreneurship as a continuum, there's a lot of people with an amazing amount of entrepreneurial mindset in the company.
Yeah, I watched some of the videos on there. You could tell that they just absolutely love working for your company. So that's something to be so proud of. And so can you tell a little bit about the journey? I'm sure that you've got a few stories along the way of how this all came about.
Sure. Again, I began my company in very humble beginnings. I should back up a little bit and tell you a little bit about my DNA, my background, and surrounding myself. Again, Pinnacle is just a culture of people that hold the same values that we do, that I have. I am an immigrant that came to this country at a very, very young age. My mother and father immigrated here, and they did two things. Number one, they focused on entrepreneurship as the vehicle for their American dream. And the other is they became very civically involved. They contributed to the community, contributed to the country that they so appreciated and loved. And so I grew up with an entrepreneurial mindset and really a front row seat to seeing what it takes. And a lot of the perseverance lessons, a lot of the hard work, a lot of the entrepreneurial DNA, a lot of the mindset, a lot of the ability to adapt and transform really came from my upbringing. I'm an adapter by nature. And so that has contributed to Pinnacle. If you fast forward approximately, because I can never guarantee, about 24 years, in my living room floor is when the company began. I knew and was intrigued by the onset, the advent of technology. I saw my first computer at 15 and I was in love. I wanted to be in the technology industry. Didn't know where, didn't know who, didn't know how, but I was going to be in that industry because I knew that it was a rocket ship. And fortunately for me, I started my career in New York City in the technology industry, providing technical labor to some of the largest companies on Wall Street. And the result 24 years later is Pinnacle has a footprint in over 10 different countries. We have 10 different service offerings. No longer are we just IT staffing, but we have 10 different service offerings in 2 major business units. The Beeline partnership that you referenced is something that we're super proud of. Beeline is a VMS tool in the marketplace, a very large one of 3 most powerful tools in the marketplace in the managed service area. And for them to select us as a strategic partner and be the first global woman minority-owned partner is just an example of the kind of thing we love to do at Pinnacle. We love to make history. We love to strive and partner with some of the best companies in the world.
Wow. Well, you must feel so proud, really, of yourself and your team. So
I'm really proud of the people because, as you know, no one does anything on their own. I'm really proud of the culture, the mindset that we've built, but really the will of our people, because that's really what has made us who we are today.
You know, I'm so glad that you bring this up because I do feel it is of utmost importance. And I love how you talk about your values right off the bat there. And my guess is your team is aligned with those values and they live those values too. And I think a lot of times we talk about that in business, but not a lot of companies are really infusing that into the company. How have you done that?
Well, to me, it's critical. To me, it is absolutely critical. Pinnacle is just living out our values, and our executive team and everyone, the entire company shares those same values: the value of entrepreneurship, the value of hard work, the value of diversity, the value of small business growth, the value. I mean, there's so many key pillars. The value of giving back. So one of the things that you've seen go in parallel is Pinnacle's growth and our ability to contribute back into the community. It's a core value of ours. The value of impeccable service to our customers. And so for me, it's just a richness and a continuation of how we began. But when you have your values aligned, that is your core, that's your foundation. And that is the strength of our foundation. And for me, that's one of the most important things you can do as a CEO is establish the values, because everything else follows.
Yeah, it's such a great reminder. It's so critical, like you said. Now, you also had on your website, I love this statement: life's too short, love your career. And so, you know, here you are and you do staffing, and obviously you're trying to help people fill those roles, but you're also saying, hey, you should love what you do. Can you talk about that a little?
Absolutely. By the way, our purpose, we found out a long time ago, is to improve lives. That is our sole mission. We are in the contingent workforce industry, but our purpose is to improve lives. And we do it 3 ways. Number 1, we help people find a job, find a career in a technology track. What could be more powerful than helping someone find their career at the core of what we do? The second way we do it is we invite people into an entrepreneurial experience. Can you imagine if you were, even today at our size, we're still growing in such a large way that the people that come in to Pinnacle are getting a front row seat at a growing company and opportunities they would wait years or even a lifetime to have somewhere else. And then the third way we're doing it is by using our platform of success to inspire others. right? So having had the chance to tell the Pinnacle story in 5 different continents, all around the country, all around the world, inspiring women business owners to start their own businesses or to scale their own businesses, we leverage our platform to help others improve their lives. So we're very clear on our mission. We have to do our job well. We have to execute workforce solutions and IT staffing, but our purpose is crystal clear. That's improving lives.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure that that helps you attract some amazing people because they want to be part. I mean, people want to be part of a great mission of a company that is making a difference, you know.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I'm sure it's a great energy there. So now on the other side of that, I'm sure along the journey, there's been obstacles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes the accomplishment that much sweeter. So one of them being 9/11 was a really challenging time. You had to almost liquidate your company. Can you talk about that experience and really what got you through the other side?
I'm happy to talk about it, and believe it or not, I think about it quite a bit because while COVID-19 is my third official national crisis, COVID is unprecedented and the longest. It's not my first, and so I think about I am a good student of history, and I think about all the things that I've learned even back then, 20 something years ago. What got us out of that is this kind of mindset of shifting and transforming and adapting. And I submit to you that that's one of the most important mindsets we could have today is how do we shift, how do we transform, and how do we adapt? What are the silver linings in our business? What are the levers that we can pull? And so for me, 9/11 was devastating. But I think about it often because it helps me exercise the will muscle. We were at a liquidation plan in place. We only had a couple of people left. And sometimes crisis causes you to really think more creatively. You know, I remember back in those days, corporations were not buying staffing services. At the time, we were a small niche IT staffing supplier. Well, guess what? Customers were not buying that. So I had to really get creative, really leverage our relationships, and really start listening and understanding the industry and saying, well, what are they buying? Oh, they're buying fixed price deliverable based IT solutions. It wasn't contingent labor, it was project based labor. And so I had to understand that. I had to be patient. I had to be a student of my industry. More importantly, I had to leverage my partnerships and my relationships. And that's where the Women's Business Council takes center stage in the Pinnacle story. I leaned on my local council to provide me introductions to corporations, and it was their introduction to a major Fortune 10 customer today that we still have, by the way. So I have them to thank for doing their job in providing that connection with women-owned businesses and corporations.
Yeah, WeBank is incredible with that. And yeah, I mean, you know, what everybody is going through today, and I do want to talk to you about that with COVID-19. In what we say a lot of times to our business owner clients is follow the demand. And we've helped so many of them pivot, and thank goodness, you know. But the blessing, like you said, is sometimes through those difficult times, don't you think it forces you to get creative? You know, because we're kind of going along otherwise and doing our thing.
And I'll give you a little hack that can force you to think creatively is whenever you're going through any kind of crisis in your life, I always ask myself, is this happening to me or is this happening for me? And if you allow yourself to think of why it would be happening for you, you start to think about your strengths. You start to think about opportunities. You start to think about your relationships in a way that you hadn't before. If you had a victim hat on, it's happening to me, it blocks you from thinking creatively. So I shift the question in any type of difficult situation and say, is this happening to me or is this happening for me.
Wow, that is so powerful because, it's easy to get into that victim mode and nothing happens there, right?
and success happens when you can shift from victim to creator, like
Yeah.
create your own destiny, create your own goals, and then figure out how to achieve them.
And so specifically with COVID-19, what changes have you had to make? And, what have been your silver linings, your challenges and your silver linings?
Oh, I mean, how much time do we have? Challenges, like every other company. My heart goes out to companies that have had to close their doors. I feel like the last 24 years and the last two pandemics or crises in our history have prepared us for this moment. So we went in the healthiest we could possibly be. We learned a long time ago to leverage technology, and so the ability to go virtual was not easy, but it wasn't impossible for us either, and we continue to work fully virtually. So there are a lot of tremendous challenges when you have a diversified portfolio. There are industries that are growing and thriving. Some of our customers are growing. Some of our customers in the financial services industry and the technology industry are growing. Our other customers in travel are not. And so there are many, many challenges that I could name, but I want to really focus on the blessings. And the blessings is we have been given the opportunity with the mindset of, is this happening for us, to really do things that we thought were not even possible. We implemented Workday, one of the most complicated, largest financial ERP packages. We have continued to serve our customers remotely. We've had to get creative about how to communicate with each other. We've had to have town halls at certain times so we can encompass everyone around the world. But this has really challenged us in ways to really lean in, to be creative, and in a way that I don't know that we would have realized is possible. So for me, there's a ton of challenges, but there's a ton of silver linings that we have seen too. We've been able to win business during this time. We've also lost some, but again, our mentality is about leaning to our strengths, focusing on our strengths and getting creative about how we're going to transform and be the new company of tomorrow.
Oh, that's fantastic. And one thing you said, Nina, I love, is that you were diversified.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of companies get into trouble when they're not, right? They're too dependent on one industry or even big clients, right? That are a big part of the revenue.
Oh, I learned that lesson a long time ago, a very long time ago. When we were going through our liquidation plan in place, we had 80% of our people in one customer. So, so when we land very large and strategic customers, first order of business is diversify, right? We have an execution team and a diversification team right away. It is a challenge that most small companies don't think about because you're very focused on executing for your customer today. But it's really important to understand that a diversified customer portfolio is an incredible strategy.
So yeah, that's a painful one. Like that's a wake up call. You learn quickly on that one for sure. But what about any other challenges along the way? I mean, you've got, a $1 billion global enterprise, and I'm sure, from, I don't know, the offerings to the marketing to the team and leadership, what have been your biggest challenges that you've personally had to work on the most?
This is a really great question, because I think this is where the learning comes, is not on what's written on the bio or the website, but the real difficult moments that you're asking about today. And for me, I'll answer your question in full transparency. One of the biggest challenges that I've been able to overcome is reinventing myself and understanding the difference when we were smaller, that a $10 million business doesn't run the same as a $100 million business, doesn't run the same as, and so on and so on. And so as the CEO, I have had to go through a personal transformation of working in the business when I first started to working on the business, from being a player to being a coach. And so, you know what they say with Tiger Woods, your one swing gets you only so far. Changing that swing and adapting for what the company needs is really, really important. And that's a personal journey that, as the chief executive officer, one has to go through. The confidence of surrounding yourself with people that fit your gaps and may challenge you. I mean, all of that has been just something that I want to share, because it is a lonely place at the top. It's a lonely place to be an owner or a chief executive officer. Lean on mentors and people who have been there before. The journey is difficult, but I can tell you this, the journey is extremely rewarding.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for sharing that, because I do think that is the biggest challenge. There's so much in what you just said I could dive into, because really, from going from the small company and every level is like a totally new business in the way, we say what got you here won't get you there. And, but how do you let go? I mean, when you are shifting from working in the business, in the day-to-day, to now working on the business, can you give some specifics of some things that you had to learn?
Sure. And specifics are where the learning happens. So Allison, I love the way you zero in on, like, we need this stuff for our listeners. When you're a mid-sized company, the most powerful decision, or the most powerful tool I can talk about, is something called, and you're going to know it when I say it, deliberate trade-offs. Because when you're a small business, you're working in the business, you're a producer, you're working in it. When you're a large business, you have, I would say a scaled big business, you have more resources, more bandwidth, more people. But when you're in the middle, how do you work on the business, right? You have limited bandwidth, limited resources, limited dollars, limited everything. And so this is when making deliberate trade-offs can become the most powerful tool that you can have. What are you going to focus on? What are the key priorities and the key things that you're going to selectively invest in, and stick to those like glue? Be really focused, be just uberly focused on execution. And for us, that's really been a tool that has helped us, and a mentality and a tool that has helped us, is making those deliberate trade-offs commensurate to our bandwidth, to our people, to our tools.
Wow, that is so powerful. Like, choose it and then commit and stick to it. That, I think that's the tough thing for a lot of business owners. Oh, I'll just do this, and all of a sudden you're back into it.
Especially those entrepreneurs with a capital E, right? They're going into this and they're going into that, and they've got ideas and ideas and ideas. And I think it's really important and almost an incredible discipline to make those trade-offs. Let me give you another perfect example of a trade-off we made a very, very long time ago. Having fewer customers and growing deeper and wider within our customer base. I have to tell you, the most expensive customer you will ever have is a new one. Mm-hmm. And so a long time ago, we made a strategic decision to not run around and chase every single customer. We said we want to partner with some of the best companies in the industry, some of the largest companies in the world, captains of industry, leaders in their vertical. And then we want to grow deeper and wider. We want to see them as partners, not just customers. I was written up in a book a friend of mine wrote called Leapfrog, where she talks about this very thing, about treating your customers. When they did the interview with me, they kind of brought this strategy out, that looking at your clients as partners and not just delivering the service that you provide, but understanding your clients so well that you're aligned in your values, you're aligned in what you're doing in multiple areas, not just on the service that you're selling them. And so to us, that was a deliberate trade-off. We could have been bigger by now, who knows? Was that the right decision? I think so. But our customers know that they are our priority and they are our partners. So that's just a couple of examples of our secret recipe.
And it's so much more rewarding that way because you build these amazing, relationships with longevity.
Mhm.
And, they also obviously are going to share their happiness with other people too. So I think that is such great advice because there's something like and it also costs like 5 times as much to get a new customer
Mhm.
than, one that you have a relationship with.
Mhm.
I want to talk a little bit about the fact that you are a triathlete. I saw that. I was like, wait, it said something about Ironman that you did. You've done all kinds of races. I love athletics. So that was super impressive to me. And I also know doing those kinds of things, my guess is that would also help you as a businesswoman as well.
Completely. I can't tell you. In fact, I can give you a small analogy, Allison, if you'd like.
Please.
Um, Triathlon training is about swimming, biking, and running. The swimming portion, I think, has really helped me exercise my will muscle, my risk muscle, my courage muscle. Because when you're throwing yourself out there in the ocean, yeah, I swam Alcatraz, so I've swam in the Pacific Ocean multiple times. I've completed 4 70.3 half Ironmans. I don't even know how many Olympics. But the swim portion is you're taking a risk and you're throwing yourself out there. And as an entrepreneur, as a leader, you're taking a risk and you have to be courageous every day, even in the small things, the courage to surround yourself by people that might be smarter than you, the courage to speak out, the courage to move forward. And so for me, the swimming for me is really analogous to the courage that it takes to kind of be a leader. It also signifies for me the notion of not reacting, but responding. Because when you throw yourself in the water with hundreds of other people that are willing to drown you, kick you, fight you, push you down. I mean, very similar to business, right? A lot of competitors are willing to throw an elbow, but you have to remain calm. The worst thing you can do is start throwing an elbow, right? The best thing you can do in life is allow people to save face. Don't throw the elbow, stay calm, don't react, respond. And so it teaches you and it forces you to have this level of just peace and tranquility in the midst of chaos. I mean, you're getting kicked in the mouth.
Oh my gosh.
And so for me, 24 years of training, like you can put me through that. And it's leadership training. In my mind, it's staying calm and collected and knowing in your heart that the only way that you're going to get to the end of that swim is to just keep your head down and keep swimming. And so for me, this is what I think about, and these are the things that I take away. The next event is actually a cycling event. And the cycling event for me is super powerful because when you get out of the water and you get on your bike, you're in front of a lot of people. There's people way back there still kind of swimming, but there's also a ton of people in front of you. And the terrain requires you to shift in different gears depending on your situation. Is it a hill? Is it a down? And on the downhills, you really just want to coast because you're tired and you want to coast. And the minute that you coast, somebody is going to fly by you. And so it reminds me in life that do not kind of be satisfied with where you are. You've got to keep your foot on the pedal. Keep pedaling, because if you slow down, someone younger, faster, stronger is going to pass you by. So for me, that's what the bike signifies. And then the run, honestly, it's just about heart. How badly do you want it? What are you willing to sacrifice to make sure you cross that finish line? By then you're exhausted, you're mentally taxed, your body is tired, you're hungry, and you want to stop, but you want to finish that. And so it's all about heart. It's all about strategy too, because the race is with yourself and it's in age groups. And so the race is really with yourself and about bettering yourself and your time all the time. So for me, the run is just about heart and pushing through.
Wow, I am so inspired. First of all, I think of you in that freezing water. Let's not forget to mention that. That is so awesome. I have been a trapeze artist for 20 years, and it's totally risky too. And I think about that has helped me so much just to ferret through some challenging times. And one thing that I noticed that I'm wondering if you experience when you're doing these races is just being so present in the moment, right? In the business world, sometimes we're all over the place, but that is, I would imagine, kind of almost like a moving meditation for you.
Allison, you hit the nose right on the head. Attention is one of the most difficult things to give and to get in this world today. We have so many things vying for our attention, whether it's business or whether it's these tools that keep beeping at us, and everyone, people or tools or technology or demands, and having that moment of clarity and just being in the moment and just talking to yourself, walking yourself through it. For me, I just find that incredibly appealing.
Yeah. And I just would imagine the resilience for you to go through this, and several times for you to see, you know what, I can get through anything, like you're starving, you have no energy left, but you're pushing through your heart to the finish line. And that is, in a sense, in business, when things like COVID-19 happen or 9/11, that you kick into that heart mode of, okay, let's go the distance. I would imagine that's helped you a lot.
It has, which is why I continue to do it. I just absolutely love it.
That's awesome. Another thing that I really was impressed, and you alluded to it earlier, about the giving back, but that's a huge part of your work as a civic leader, philanthropy, making a bigger change in the world. And you do this outside of your business and within Pinnacle Group. Can you share a little bit about how you incorporate that in your life and in your company?
Thanks for the question. It actually comes from, much like all things in our lives do, it comes from growing up. I watched my mother and father give back to their communities in meaningful ways. And it's just a value that we hold dear in our family. And to be quite honest and transparent with you, when I look at Pinnacle and our story, and I look at me and my personal life, I can only think of one word, and that is gratitude. And so what we do comes from a place of gratitude. And the saying of, to whom much is given, much is expected. We have experienced unbelievable growth. And therefore, the question is, what are we going to do with it? And for us, we decided a long time ago is that we want to make the community a better place to live in our city, in our country, in our nation. And so giving back is not something that just I hold dear as a value, but everyone at Pinnacle, everybody knows that all the things we're able to achieve is kind of in the name of who we are. And for me, one of the things I've learned about being involved in global initiatives and national initiatives is that everything starts at home. And for many years, Allison, I used to take my philanthropy and my civic work and have it separate from my day job. And one of the most beautiful things happened is I went like this. And my passion for the community and my passion for what we do for a living kind of came together. And so Pinnacle, I can give you an example of how that has manifested itself. We're in workforce solutions. We identify talent. We're in that workforce stream. Well, Pinnacle became one of the founding partners of PTech, a collegiate academy here in Dallas, Texas. It's a partnership between business, DISD, the Dallas Independent School District, and the community college. And we're graduating kids. And 2020 is our first final year of our pilot to graduate kids with a dual degree, a high school degree and an associate's degree with a technology track. Allison, what that's going to do for the future of Dallas and the future of this region, and most of those kids come from disadvantaged areas. 100% of those kids are first-time college hopefuls. 99% of those kids, if not 100, are minorities. And so I am thrilled to be part of the program. Pinnacle mentored an entire high school, Thomas Jefferson High School. Why mentor a kid when you can mentor an entire high school? And we had hundreds of kids inside our building learning how to conduct interviews, learning more about the technology industry, learning about resumes. We hired 30 of them last summer as summer interns. And this is now mixing Pinnacle and my love for the community. When you can combine those two, it creates just an incredible, powerful combination.
That honestly gave me chills. Because I could visually see that. And it truly is, when you open up possibilities for these children to see what they could, if they've not had the exposure like you have, how life-changing. So that is fantastic. And so, for others to be able to do that within their companies, where do you think is the best place for them to start? If they're thinking, okay, I really want to make a difference in my community and in the world.
I feel like the best place to start is what you're passionate about. There's so many ways that you can help the community, and there are literally hundreds, if not thousands of causes. Which is the ones that speak to you the most? Again, being an immigrant, being able to be one of the first in my family to go to college, all these things, I've always doubled down on students, Hispanic students, because I'm in the technology industry, I veer towards that. And so because I'm a female entrepreneur, I want to inspire more female entrepreneurs. So it's really about, where do your passions lie? And for me, it began with thinking, what has created the most impact in my personal life, and how can I share? And so ask yourself, what are you passionate about? Maybe you have, maybe to others, it could be cancer or Alzheimer's. Maybe it could be the arts. Maybe it could be, whatever you're kind of passionate about. That's the first place to start, because it is not authentic if you're doing something just for the sake of philanthropy, and you won't enjoy it. And time is your most valuable commodity. So let's spend our time, our valuable commodity, our valuable time, in things that enrich our lives.
Yeah, that's such great advice. And so what is something that you, Nina, would like to see change, even beyond this, like in the corporate world as a whole, especially for women and minorities? And what do you feel like the business owners could do to make that change? I mean, there's a lot of change happening in the world right now, obviously, but we still have a long way to go. What would you like to see change?
Rather than see something change, I feel like I would like to continue progress. How's that? You and I both know that the agenda for female progress has been an agenda in the country for a very, very long time. And we have seen some levels of progress, but I think we can both agree that there's a long way to go. There are still only 25 women that are in, running Fortune 500 companies. There are still few limited women that are in positions of power. We've come a very long way. There are more women sitting on publicly traded company boards today and in the C-suite than we ever have before, but we still have a long way to go. So rather than changing something, what I would say is the continuation and the progress of let this pandemic could be one of the silver linings of this pandemic is that most corporations have realized the power of a distributed workforce. That opens up the opportunities for women to work from wherever they are, however their lives may be. And so for me, I want to hold on to that. There's some challenges too. Okay. I'm not blind to the challenges, but let's figure out the strengths. Let's figure out the opportunities. Let's have women tell their story, have them mentor, have them be role models, have them serve, have them help each other. And let's continue the progress that I know that we can continue to achieve.
Yeah, that's great. And continue the progress and maybe like speed it up a little bit. Like,
be more intentional. I think if you're more intentional, you're going to get better results. You have seen the data on women. We're making 80% of the business decisions in our household, period, bar none. Corporations, and especially those who are focused on the consumer, understand that. And so I feel like when you look at the performance of corporations, when they have more women and more diversity in their board and in their ranks, you see better financial results. And so I think the results speak for themselves. We've got to be intentional and keep building on that momentum.
Agreed, 100%. Now, you mentioned earlier being able to lean on WeBank when you went through that trying time. How have you further utilized or leveraged your WeBank certification as support for your business?
That's an excellent question. I speak very highly about the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. I think what it stands for is incredible. And the intentionality that they bring, I think, makes a big difference. They have one sole mission. They're not unfocused. They have one mission, and that is to introduce corporations to women business leaders that are interested in doing business with each other. And so for me, I've leveraged it in a variety of ways. Number one, the obvious. We've gotten to meet some customers through the network. So that's an obvious one. A not so obvious thing is the women that I've been able to meet. I'm really proud to be one of the women of distinction for WeBank. And there's about 25 other women that hold that distinction. We're some of the largest, most scalable, mostly global female leaders within the network. Now, I began as one of the smallest companies in the network, and today I'm a woman of distinction, and the camaraderie and the support that exists. I mean, the WhatsApp channel, the helping each other channel, there's the camaraderie that exists between all those businesses, I think is truly, truly a gift. And then the third, which is, again, not so obvious, but for me has been really powerful, is when I first started coming into the WeBank network, I was a $2 million business. And I always like to say that, you can't be what you can't see. And so here I was showing up at these annual conference, looking at these women like, wow, if they can do it, so can I. And do not ever underestimate the power of inspiration. And so I was very inspired by seeing women that were running large, global, scaled companies. And for me, that served as an incredible inspirer in my personal life and what we can achieve.
Wow. That is a fantastic answer. I know it will inspire so many businesswomen to hear that, because I think sometimes, when you're at those earlier stages, you can look at the bigger companies like the one you're running right now and say, wow, I could never do that. Or, that's success that they can achieve, but I'm not sure that we could do that for our company.
If you can't be what you can't see, for me, I've met some of unsung heroes. Many I befriend, and some I just watch from afar. Either way, I feel like I've been really inspired by the network. And like I said, having a connectivity of people that at WeBank, it's not just about looking for customers. It's about building relationships and remembering that not everybody can be a customer, but everybody can be a friend. Sometimes I found nominators, I found mentors, I found sponsors, I've been nominators, I've been mentees. And so I feel like for me, it's really about the network. And if you really hone into the network, if you really truly see it it's not just a vehicle for getting customers. If that is your one track mind, you will be disappointed because you will miss out on the goodness and the other things that the network can bring you.
Yeah, I mean, just like anything, you get out of it what you put into it. So I agree 100%. And I also think, like you were saying, being able to see what's possible. Once you see what's possible, then you see that you can do that for yourself. What's your next big vision for Pinnacle Group? Like, what is on the horizon for you?
That's an excellent question. I feel like today we have a presence in 10 different countries. The last couple of years, we've been growing outside of the United States as well. We've opened up Latin America, we've opened up the UK and Ireland. For me, it's about scale. We are professionalizing and continuing to challenge ourselves. We're building a service model, a replicable service model, continuing to refine and optimize that. For me, it's about scale. It is about scale. It's funny when you asked me that question. At first, it was going from my living room floor to an office, then it was an office to a regional supplier, then it's for regional to national, then to global, and now it's about how many countries. And it is not just about size; it's also about complexity. Remember that Pinnacle is a vehicle to help people land their careers and further their careers and improve lives, and so I'm just going to very much focus on that whole journey of running a very complex, different adolescent business.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because I wrote a book on scaling, and scaling is what we talk about all the time. And I know we're about to wrap up, but I have to ask you this because I'm dying to know. In this process of scaling, which is your next big vision, and you've gone from local and now global, what do you think, like, where do you go in your head, Nina, when you say, okay, this is this next level that we want to take? What do you feel like supports you the most in this plan for scaling?
What supports me the most is the people around me. It has to be. You can be a genius, but when it comes to scaling a company, it's going to require people with different talents than your own. I always like to talk about the big E as the entrepreneur, right? There's also the big A, administrative, right? You've got to have your compliance, you've got to have your service model, you've got to have the administrative functions that have to run. There's also the big P's, the producers, and the big I's, which are the integrators. And so it's really about having everyone in their strong suit. It's not just about having the right people on the bus. It's about making sure that they're in the right seats.
Yeah. Oh, that is fantastic advice. Thank you for that. And is there anything else that, as we wrap up now, and this has been such a fantastic interview, you have dropped so many genius bombs here. I'm going to go back and listen to it myself. That anything that you would like to share to the business women, business leaders that are listening to this today?
What I would love to share with all the business leaders is, again, my gratitude for selecting me to be in this podcast. I'm happy to contribute. And again, if my experiences or lessons learned can help anyone, then I feel like I've accomplished a mission. But what I have to say to all the women business owners is, do not underestimate your power. You are part of something much, much bigger than yourself. You're not just the chief executive officer or the owner or the entrepreneur in your own company. You are part of an army that has fueled this American economy in a way that most people recognize. And so if you think of yourself that way and act like it, you will unlock the potential in your businesses. So I hope, I wish everyone luck. I wish out there and what you're doing, and God bless you.
Yeah. Wow. That is fantastic advice to wrap up your show. Step into your greatness.
That's right.
Is what you're saying. And I love that. That's powerful crescendo there. So thank you so much, Nina, for sharing your gifts and your wisdom and your journey with us today. And that was awesome.
Well, thank you, Allison. I have a great respect for people that dedicate their lives to the advancement of others, and that's exactly what you've done. So kudos to you, my friend. Thanks, Allison.
Thank you so much. And for those of you listening, we hope you've enjoyed this episode. I know I have been greatly inspired. And if you haven't subscribed to Women Who Own It, please do, and share this show with other business owners that you care about. And if you like this episode in particular, please write a review. We would love to hear from you and your thoughts. Until next time, get out there and elevate yourself, because you are worth it. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Allison. Thank you. Bye, everyone.